Hi, my name is Shannon Young and I'm a writer. 18 months ago, I quit my day job as a teacher to write full time, and I've been doing an update video every 6 months to let you all know how it's been going. Okay. When we last left off at my 1 year mark, I published 2 books under the pen name Jordan Rivet in a post-apocalyptic adventure series set at sea, and I'd also seen the launch of my travel memoir with a small traditional publisher here in Hong Kong. I live in Hong Kong, in case you haven't watched one of my videos before. Okay, so in the 6 months since my last video, here's what has happened. I have officially finished the Seabound Chronicles, so I published the last 2 books in that series, which are a prequel that comes before the trilogy. It happens on the day of the apocalypse that sends my main characters out to sea. And then I've also finished the last book in the trilogy, Sea Fled, which rounds out the story of Esther and her adventures as they finally go back to land. And as you can see, it's a really thick book. This is my longest yet. So that's very exciting to have actually completed an entire series. Here they are all at once. Dun, dun, dun. The 4 books in the Seabound Chronicles, and I'm really very proud of this work. This is a total of 322,000 words and 3 years worth of work to have all of these books out and finally being read and enjoyed by all of you guys. So thank you so much to everyone who's read the Seabound Chronicles so far. This has been really exciting. So that's the main thing that I've been working on over the past 6 months. My first 2 books came out 6 months apart, Seabound and Sea Swept, and what I've actually been able to do in that time is up my production speed and up my writing speed and spend more hours in the chair basically to get these books out even faster. So there were 4 months between the launch of book 2 and the prequel, and then only 3 months between the launch of the prequel and the final book in the series. Okay, so that's 13 months total, if I did that right, 13 months total of publishing to get out the entire series out into the world. So I'm very proud of it, and people have been reading it, and the sales are just going up and up and up, so that's been very encouraging to see. Very soon I'm going to be launching a box set where you can get all the complete trilogy as an ebook for a lower price. So that's been keeping me busy for most of the time. Well, after I finished that series, which was just kind of this incredible thing that I never really had imagined I would do with my life, actually. After I finished that series, I thought, okay, well, I want to do something different now. At that point, I developed some pretty good writing routines. I'm feeling more confident about my prose and feeling more confident that I know how the publishing process works. But I also wanted to kind of clear my head a little bit and do something completely different before jumping into the next series. And so I wrote a short romance novel set in Hong Kong, which is where I live, and it's called Fairy Tale, and it just launched for Valentine's Day weekend. And I'll show you what it looks like. I don't even have the paperbacks here yet. They're coming in a box from the US, but I will show you what it looks like on Kindle. There it is, Fairy Tale. And it's kind of a sweet story. It's different. It's a little bit shorter, so 45,000 words. It's a quick read, but it's just kind of fun and different, and it gets at sort of the romantic atmosphere in Hong Kong that people don't always realize is there. That people kind of think of Hong Kong as this chrome and glass city of commerce, and it's all about money, and it's all about everything being busy and expensive the whole time, and there's not a whole lot of room for romance. So I thought, well, I want to change that, and here we have a story showing that Hong Kong does have a romantic side too. So that's been keeping me busy over the past 6 months, publishing 3 books, and it's been interesting to find that the amount of time that I can spend working on this creative pursuit on writing has continued to increase. In my last video, I mentioned that I'd sort of exercised my writing muscles to the point where I could do 4 or 5 hours just straight writing time. Now I'm doing 7 or 8 hours a day, which is kind of something that I never thought would have been possible, because when you're doing something creative, you tend to think that you use up your well, you use up the amount of energy that you have for a creative pursuit at any given moment, which is true, but you can increase the size of that well, and so that's what I've continued to do. So now 7 and 8 hour days. The people at Starbucks are really nice to me because I'll go and I'll sit there really for the entire day, and have my coffee and have my lunch there, and then just work and work and work all the way through. Part of why I'm so motivated to spend that time just sitting in the chair 7, 8 hours a day is in the fall, I took a part-time job. I think I mentioned in my previous video that I was thinking about doing that. So I did, and I taught 6 days a week for 2 hours each day. And it ended up being a reading program where I'd go around to a different school every single week or a different pair of schools every single week. So it was a lot of commuting time. So although it was only 2 hours of teaching a day, it was a lot of time spent on the MTR and on the bus. So I did a lot of the writing for Fairy Tale in particular, like scribbled by hand in a notebook when normally I'm much more comfortable typing. On the bus as the minibuses were swerving in and out and around the new territories, or as I was, standing upright on the MTR trying to keep writing. So it was nice that I was able to keep up my production and was able to finish the publication for Seafled and also write the rough draft for Fairy Tale in that time. But it also really, really made me appreciate the time that I've been able to have working full-time on my writing and being able to go and stay at the same Starbucks every single day. So now that my part-time job is finished, it was a 10-week contract. Now that that's finished, I'm back sort of full speed ahead with the writing so that I can get a few more books out there and not have to go back and do it again. So far so good. I've been having my best sales numbers ever over the past 3 months. My rolling average is just improving and improving, and it's really exciting to see what could happen when you have 4 whole books in a series, plus a couple of other books under another pen name, my Shannon Young pen name. So my next plan, which I'm so excited about, is my new series, which is a fantasy series. I mentioned it in the last video as well. And the title of the series is Steel and Fire. And the first book is called Duel of Fire. And it's about a young woman who is a professional duelist. She's a professional athlete in a fantasy kingdom that's, it's on a mountain and dragons and fire and sorcerers and everything like that, and she's a professional athlete in the context of that world. And then she actually gets invited to help train the prince of the city. And of course, they don't get along, but also they do get along and all that good stuff. So that's what I've been working on. And one thing that I learned with the Seabound series was, as a lot of authors will report, that the more books out you have in a series, the easier it is to gain traction, and the faster that you release them, the easier it is to gain traction. So my goal for that series is actually to release books 1 and 2 within 6 weeks of each other, and I'm on track to do that, and then hopefully follow up with book 3 a month or 2 after that, probably 2 months after that. And I'm on track to do that. So Duel of Fire is in its 4th draft. I'm going to go and work on it today, actually. It's almost finished, and I'll be sending it to the editor on March 9th, hopefully for an April 1st release. I'm waiting for the first draft of the cover design, which should be here in a few weeks as well, and it's going to be amazing. And then I have a rough draft already of book 2 in the series, so it should also be on track to launch in May. And then I'm going to continue my usual process of doing a draft of one book and then going back and doing a draft of a different one and back and forth through the series. And I think it's going to be a 5-book series depending on how things turn out with the 3rd and 4th book. I'm not sure about them. But so that's what I've been doing, and it's been very exciting, and I'm really enjoying the process. And it's really amazing how I can sort of get better and better at this job, and actually my words are coming out better the more time I spend writing, and so each draft is cleaner than the first draft, and each book, even in the first draft, is closer and closer and closer to publication shape, which I suppose makes sense. I should have anticipated that I would actually, hopefully, become a better writer, but it's kind of gratifying to see it actually playing out now that I've spent so many, thousands of hours doing this. So that's the update from me. In the coming months, I'm going to be focusing primarily on the Steel and Fire series. And then I'll also be getting the word out about Fairy Tale, my Hong Kong romance, under the Shannon Young name. And I will give you guys another update in 6 months, and in that time, I expect to have at least 3 books in the Steel and Fire series published already. So keep your fingers crossed for me that I'll be able to actually do that. It's going to be a lot of work, definitely have my work cut out for me. The books are turning out to be probably 80,000 words long, maybe a little bit longer, which is pretty standard for that. For the YA fantasy, it's closer to the YA side than the adult side for this series, I'm finding. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So thank you guys so much for your support and for cheering me on and for all of the comments on Facebook and comments on YouTube videos even, that I really appreciate you guys cheering me on while I just keep sort of running full steam ahead until I, can sort of consider myself a success eventually, hopefully. That's the goal. So maybe by the time I post another video, we'll have to see. So that is my update on my 18 months as a full-time writer. I'm still really loving the work, and I'm hoping that my stories are getting better and my craft is improving. So once again, my name is Shannon Young. I'm a writer from Hong Kong, and I also write under the pen name Jordan Rivet, which is The first series is a post-apocalyptic adventure series set at sea, and the second series is going to be a YA fantasy set in a mountaintop kingdom. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.